still here at the Riviera Maya, a Spa Palace Aventuras in beautiful Mexico, just south of Cancun. And we've already looked at this relationship diamond, and we've broken it down into the various steps. You know, we have the acquaintance step, that's first base. Stakeholdership is second. Partnership is third. Accomplishing the coactive goals is getting around the bases to home plate and scoring some runs. And we've looked at the baselines. How do we get there? Integrity, openness, accountability, problem solving gets us to home. But now we want to superimpose another aspect of this, and there's a study called group dynamics. It's a study of how people operate in groups, and group dynamics has identified 4 distinct phases that a working group will go through as they develop a stronger and stronger relationship, and it just fits perfectly into this model of this relationship diamond. So the first phase, according to group dynamics, is the form stage, F-O-R-M. The form stage has to do with structure. Most relationships begin with some type of formalized structure. It could be, well, a good example would be a call for service. You know, that's in a reactive mode of policing. They call, we come. We respond. There is a very structured, formalized relationship that's taking place there. You know, they called, you came. There's certain roles and responsibilities that each of you have, and you play them out as you go through the process of taking the call. Traffic stops are great examples of a very structured beginning phase of a working relationship. And I think it's one that's often overlooked too, by the way. And of course, community meetings. This is a wonderful opportunity to bring people together into some type of a formalized structure so that we can begin the process of establishing our integrity in their eyes, that first step of becoming acquaintances. So that's the form stage, structured, formalized aspect. The next stage is the storm stage. That's when we open up those channels of communication. And it can get stormy. It can get very stormy within that aspect. Particularly, the more diverse the groups tend to be, the more stormy the seas. And here's what I believe. I think oftentimes we're afraid to weather the storm. You know, we get to first base, we become an acquaintance, and then we venture out into that no man's land between first and second base where we could be thrown out. And the seas get stormy. We start dealing with issues, and again, the more diverse the groups, the stronger the opinions might be on either side of an issue. If we start discussing things like, I don't know, police use of force, if we start talking about police corruption, if we start talking about racial profiling, you know, any of these hot buttons can oftentimes generate controversy and strife and a stormy sea. And so what we do is we venture out between first and second base, we enter the storm, we don't like it, it's uncomfortable, we retreat back to first base. And we say, hey, we're safe on the bases, right? Just like in baseball. Well, I'll just stay right here. We won't deal with these more sensitive, difficult issues. We'll just stay on first base. Go around the room, everybody introduce yourselves. Okay, now we're acquaintances. And then we move on, and we never really accomplish anything worthwhile. And the group oftentimes will either become dysfunctional or it would just fall apart entirely because we have not dealt with some of these greater issues. Now, there is one caveat here, and that is don't stay in the storm. You know, there are some people that have a political agenda for keeping you in the storm, and we want to be able to identify that early on. And you may need someone else. Probably you're going to need a community member, some champion that's going to come to your aid and say, okay, look, we've already dealt with that issue. We need to move on. You know, maybe we're never going to resolve it. You've had your say, we've had our say, we've tried to come to terms, but now we need to move on because we're just beating this dead horse. And it may need to be someone other than you, someone other than the police, that take that championship role to get you through the stormy seas so you can make it to that second base. And then third base, that's the norm stage, N-O-R-M. The norm stage has to do with roles and responsibilities. That's where the accountability comes into play. We identify what we're going to do, they identify what they're going to do, what is the interplay, what are the roles, and that's the normative phase of this entire process. And then that last step, that stage of getting from third base to home, that's the perform stage. That's where the work really gets done, is in that final stage. So you have form, storm, norm, and perform. Kind of cute the way it all rhymes. But we want to be sure that we don't try to enter into the perform stage too early. And the tendency is we get to the form stage, we get to the structured part of the relationship, we become acquaintances with those that are in our working group, whatever it might be, whether it's a crime watch group, community group, leadership council, whatever it might be. We get to that acquaintance stage, And either we stall out there and stagnate because we don't enter into the storm stage, or we try to go from first base to third base. Okay, let's go around the room, everybody introduce yourselves. Well, now that we're here and now that we know who everybody is, let's get to work. And because you haven't dealt with the storm and you haven't established the roles and responsibilities, the group oftentimes will fall apart completely. So understand that these 4 stages are really necessary. Sometimes you can go through them very fast. Sometimes it takes time and patience to work your way. And sometimes you're never going to get everybody on board. Sometimes you're never going to get them around the bases, just like in a real ball game. You know, the inning might be over, the game might be over, and we leave people stranded on the bases, and that's just life, and that happens sometimes. But we want to get as many people around those bases as many times as we can. And every time we do that, we reinforce the relationship, we score some points on the scoreboard, we become more and more coactive, and we become more effective in dealing with the issues that we're trying to address within the community. So those are our 4 stages. In the next video, I'm going to talk about a real-life example that happened to me when we first started experimenting and implementing these principles, and how all of these 4 stages, how we went through these 4 stages with a particular individual. So until next time, Sheriff Ray Nash from Riviera Maya.